Hello everybody, it's time for the Season 8 recap of the Treaty United Building a Nation save over on Twitch. We are live right now with the transfer window, so if you do want to hop over and say hi, then hey, let's give you a word, shall we? The word for the chat is Actimel. I got one on my desk, drop that in the chat. I'll know what you mean. I know you've watched this far, which is the start of the video. But yeah, if you do enjoy these, drop a like, that'll be fantastic. Let me know that you want me to keep doing them. I enjoy making them because it gets me to revisit the seasons as they've gone by. And this one's a bit of a doozy, I've got to be honest. And of course, if you want to watch the VODs of these streams in full, they are, of course, put up the day after every stream over on the second channel, Straight Red Card, link in the description. So that's enough bush beating. Let's have a little look at the old youth intake this year. It's disappointing. I'll give you an advance warning. The biggest prospect from our youth intake this year was Thomas Moore, a 16-year-old central midfielder. And that's kind of about as much as I can say about him. We've spent money. We're upgrading the youth facilities this year as well for another £2 million. Obviously, that's not so important with the actual players you bring through. We've upgraded we now have exceptional junior coaching and exceptional whatever the other one is that matters to that. I forget. And recruitment and yeah, they're both exceptional now. And our head of youth development is ridiculous, but unfortunately we've just been absolutely cursed when it comes to getting good youth intakes over the last few seasons. So that's a bit of a shame. Hopefully one of these days we'll finally get a good one. We've literally not had a good youth intake since the first season of the save, despite our youth get better each time. But there you go. That's just one of those things. Hopefully we can sort that out and over time finally get some good youth players coming through the club, because that'd be nice, wouldn't it? And let's just quickly pay a visit to Nathan Daly, who was the only good youth player we've ever had actually come through the club, and you can see what his rating is like now, but he's still an actually pretty okay player. Maybe just needs to find another club, to be honest. But he has scored a goal in, I think he actually scored in the cup for us this season. I think that was his first goal for the club at the age of 23. So that should sort of tell you all you need to know about him. And he is 23 years old. He's had a loan spell at Shelbourne. Maybe he needs another one. I don't know. But yeah, we're not producing that quality yet. Times will come for that, though, and that's fine. This has been a huge season for us as far as signings. We went into the transfer window with massive hopes of being able to get that youth conveyor belt going of the players that we wanted to start bringing in. We'd done loads of scouting, came to that window, it opened, we started looking at players, and not a single one of them would talk to us. Like, not one would basically have any kind of discussion with us. Either, it was one of two things, basically. Either our stature wasn't big enough, which is fair, it happens, that's fine. We just assumed that our rep wasn't good enough for those players. But then on the other hand, you'd be looking at players who are much lower rep, who would then say something to do with like assurances of playing time, but you couldn't actually give them any assurances of playing time. It would go red straight away. So it was kind of blocking us from signing players on both ends of the spectrum, which made it a very, very difficult initial transfer window. Thankfully, things evened up a little bit in the summer. We suspect, though, that the rep bump that we got at the end of the season actually didn't properly come into an effect until the overall rollover of the European League, which doesn't happen until 7 months later, because all of a sudden things started to open up a little for us at that point. But it is still very difficult to obtain quality talent. Particularly, South America is off limits for us right now. We just simply cannot sign any players from South America, except for one randomly. And it's mostly been Europe and a little bit of Africa, but that's still kind of sketch at the moment. So that's been our transfer strategy. But we've really been trying to focus on players that are homegrown for the future. So let's get going. The first player we were able to sign up, and I still can't figure out why, was Alan. On a free transfer from Flamengo. He will count as a homegrown player. He's paid a lot for us this season. 45 appearances in that sort of attacking midfield role for us. And I think he's done a solid job. 16 assists and 5 goals for him this year. I like the guy a lot. Now, he does have a release clause, which is frustrating, but we're going to try and get rid of it during this transfer window if we can do. But I've already tried to talk to his agent, and he actually tried to get me to drop the release clause, so that's quite frustrating. Despite his consistency issues, I've been very happy with him, and for a free signing, there's really nothing we could do wrong with that. And again, he's the only player from South America that we've actually managed to convince to join us. Everybody else said no. I don't know why Alan was interested. We suspect it's something to do with the fact that it was a Bosman, but yeah, very, very odd on that one. But nevertheless, he's in. Really like him. Next up, we spent £350,000 on Rui Fischer from Portimonense. Star rating aside, he has very, very solid attributes for that rollout on the left-hand side. And that's part of the reason why we wanted him, because we just didn't feel like we were progressing enough there. And I think he's an underrated player whose perhaps star rating sort of lets him down a little bit. Not that that's the be-all and end-all, because I think he's got very, very solid attributes for that left inside forward role. And you can sort of see that's played out. 20 starts, 11 goals and 11 assists for Rui Fischer this season. He's missed the second half of the year pretty much with quite a serious injury that saw him out. I think he got a hip injury, actually. If I recall correctly, I'm fairly certain he's got the jet ski injury. Yep. He's currently out with the jet ski injury at the moment. So that's what he did in like half a year. We then loaned Jordan McPherson in from Rangers for the season. He's not played too much. Started 14 games, come off the bench a little bit, 3 goals, 5 assists. He was just a player because we thought, he could do a job. And we were getting a bit desperate at this point, honestly. But we did get him on loan. I think we were actually paying none of his wage. Oh, no, I think we were paying his wages this season. But nevertheless, yeah, he probably won't be coming back. We also picked up Czech Cisse from a club in France. He's Malayan, but he was at a French side and thus would talk to us. Very strange. We were extremely disappointed when we first joined because of he was potential when everything was looking very low. But weirdly, he's been... this might not look like it because of the red arrows. I think that's just because of a youth team game. He's actually been doing okay and is starting to look like an okay centre-back. Perhaps not for us any day soon, but maybe for another Irish side. We were slightly surprised by his development over the course of the year. So, yeah... okay, I suppose. It didn't cost us much. I think it was like 11,000. Next up was another signing. Vincent Penny coming on not on a free transfer from Swindon Town. It essentially could have been a free, but we paid early just to get him over the line for 95 grand. We were just looking at some more centre-backs. He was a bit of a failure of a signing, if I'm honest. Wasn't a good player for us, really. 7 appearances overall this season. Did okay when he played, but just wasn't quite up to scratch. Next up was the biggest outlay of the window, Hajime Noga, who came in from Pompey. We really did want a bit more strength in the right-back spot. I love the sheer amount of games and competitions that he's played in this season. I've never had to scroll on that menu before. Thing is, 2.5 million rising to 3 million is too much money. We overspent on him. We know that we overspent on him, but we were absolutely getting desperate towards the end of our initial transfer window and just needed some players, but we couldn't sign any of the people that we actually wanted. So we had to pay big money to Pompey to lure Hajime Noga over to the club for this season. Now, he has managed 3 goals and 4 assists this year from right back and has been relatively good, to be fair. Ironically, both of his goals came against, 2 of his goals came against the same team in different games, but in Europe. Very strange. More on that later. But yeah, I think he's been okay for us, but the money definitely was not good value for us. A poor deal from us, has to be said. But then, in a slightly okayer piece of business, Anton Rakov came in for about £90,000 from Yezhny over in Russia. And again, 22 appearances this year. He's mostly played as a backup, but he's been a solid option for us. Nothing fantastic, just the 1 assist to his name and no goals. But he's been useful and a reliable player that we very much needed when rotating around for the league, because some of the fixture congestion this year has been utterly shambolic. Worse than even when I was in South Africa. We've had multiple situations this year where we've had back-to-back weeks with 4 matches in them. 8 games in 2 weeks. Mental. That we've even, I think it was 8, or was it 7? Either way, it was a lot of matches where you'd get 1 day off in between each one. So it was unbelievably tough. And that happened, I think, 4 or 5 times this year because of the continental competitions in the middle of the year. So very, very tough for us. And that was all the business we were able to get done during the January, February sort of transfer window. And we were coming into the year thinking, I don't know about this, really. Particularly when it came to Europe later down the line. We were very concerned that our squad would not have improved very much. But luckily, when the summer rolled around, things started to open up. This is not a good example of that, of course. Bradley Saunders, we'd already arranged to sign him ages ago from Slovako, but he does now join us. It was a free transfer. He's gone out on loan to Drogheda for the season. He's not a spectacular player by any means, but he's here, and that's what's happened. It was after that things really picked up. First up, though, was Shafik Tunchal. We finally managed to sign a young player that could count as homegrown for the future. The deal is $1 million, rising to 1.8 million, which is a much better deal for us, I think, in terms of the quality of this player. Solid tackling to start with. His crossing and dribbling aren't fantastic, but again, he's only 18 years old. Solid physical, some good mentals in there, marking, positioning, tackling. He's a very strong defensive fullback for us. But, to be 2.5 stars in our squad at the age of 18 with good potential, a little bit of consistency is not fantastic there as well. But he's not found too many appearances, just the 8 starts and 3 substitute appearances so far this year. But the thing is, I think he will definitely start to become a challenger for Barry Cunningham's left-back spot at some point, but he will need to work on his sort of forward thinking. Next up was possibly one of the strangest deals I've come across so far. This is Czech Bayrack. He was released by Bayern Munich, of all people, and then just thought, you know what, yeah, I fancy a little nip over to Ireland. Like, don't get me wrong, he's got good base attributes for the moment. He's 18 years old, so will count as homegrown. He accepted a breakthrough prospect contract and has 5-star potential, which is lovely, and has consistency. Really good player. Not only that, I don't know if it's still here. Hopefully it is. It's gone. At one point, he was considered the next Jurgen Klinsmann. I don't know why that's disappeared, but I still feel that sort of indicates to me that there is a hell of a player under here if we could just unlock him. Hasn't actually started any games for us so far this year, but did score a goal for us in the Cup. So that's kind of nice for him. He's still a youngster, but again, I think he's a really solid piece of business to get him for free. But this is the crowning achievement of our transfer strategy this year. Moses Mayani, a South African striker, wouldn't talk to us, wouldn't do anything, and summer rolls round, and all of a sudden, he was available. We've been looking at him. He was our number 1 target from Swallows. We paid £850,000. Probably could have got him a bit cheaper, but we just wanted to get this move done and done. And I think you might understand why. The man has 18 finishing at the age of 19, and he was actually had that when he was 17. He's got solid dribbling. First touch is incredible. His composure is 12, but it was lower than that before, and it's improving. His flair is excellent. He's got 17 pace, 17 agility, and 15 acceleration. The man is ridiculous, and he'll be a homegrown player for us because he joined when he was 18. He is unbelievable. Has good finishing, great consistency to go with it as well. There's so many things I like about Moses Mayani. It took him a little while to get going, but you'll see already. 17 goals for us in only 15 starts. 4 assists as well. He's got 10 in the league, despite only starting 9 games there as well. The guy is a phenomenal striker, and he's mostly just played as a backup rotation option this year because of Emmett Doran and Michael Sharif. But even so, he is proving to be a star for the future with no shadow of a doubt on that one. And to get him for 850 grand, I think he's incredible. Next up is Thiago Silva. Now, this is another one that I think we may have overpaid for. We paid £2 million to bring him in from Boa Vista in the end. He was very much one for the future. 17-year-old Portuguese attacking midfielder, but has good consistency. Mentals are okay. In fact, mentals are probably one of the best things about him, but solid technicals to go with it. I think looking at this back in the cold light of day, perhaps we have overpaid slightly, but I still think there's a hell of a player in here. The main reason we were interested in him is because originally his potential was rated a lot higher. Like, you had that extra half star bit on the final star, and we were very, very intrigued by him as well. So money has definitely been splashed about because we had a budget of 12 million. It's a lot less this year, weirdly, but there you go. So Thiago Silva, £2 million, still only 17. Room to grow. And the last of the players that actually joined us during this period was Fabrizio Petroni, an Italian right-back / centre-back, 20 years old, won't count as homegrown or anything, but he joined on a free, and I was quite happy to do a deal like this for the 20-year-old Italian. The man's got 17 jumping reach and 16 heading. He's brilliant at both centre-back and right-back. Scored one of the weirdest goals I've seen this season, where his header from the edge of the area just trickled through the goalkeeper. Weird one, but 2 goals and 6 assists in 14 matches for us. Very happy with him. Another excellent signing, if you ask me. And that was the last of the signings that we actually made, but a few signings have been made that will be joining us this window too, so I'll show you those as well. First up is Ricardo Franca, who is an 18-year-old right-sided player that plays for Basel, except he doesn't play for Basel because he's playing for us soon. He still isn't even fully scouted, but we decided to just take the plunge on him, given that he's got 16 dribbling, 16 first touch at the age of 18, 12 crossing, his passing solid, off the ball and work rate are reasonably good for the winger role, which he'll play. Technique's not too bad, acceleration and pace are good. There's a lot of things to like about this guy, particularly considering the age, and a fairly professional personality as well. We've taken the punt. The deal is 2 million up front, rising to 3 million, essentially. It's a lot of money, but we felt like he was worth it to bring him in, particularly as we have a theory that Jacob Carno is not going to be here forever, and we kind of wanted to make sure we had someone waiting in the wings to take that spot over from him should that be the case, and he'll count as homegrown. What more do you want, eh? And the last of the signings that we've made coming in for the next period is Nemanja Kushmarovic, who's coming in from Čukarički over in Serbia. 16-year-old striker, so he is very much a future star whatever. Good consistency, but more importantly, it's this that really intrigued us about him. That extra half star on the potential makes us think that there's a hell of a player under here. We just need to unlock him. He does have the unsporting personality, and we have paid £2 million for the deal, but we felt that it was the right piece of business for us at the time. So we have spent some decent cash, but we're really stocking ourselves out with the Wonder Kids now, hopefully, to start to build this team and hopefully start building the rest of the clubs in Ireland too. Even if he don't play for us, there's a real chance that he could find some good football elsewhere in the country, and that's really the key, because he'll still be, I mean, he's only 16 years old as well, so it's going to be a while, I think, before he joins us. In fact, yes, it's going to be another 2 years before he actually sets foot here, which means hopefully he'll get some football back in Serbia. As for the outs, there were a couple. Ben Knight left to go to Inverness for £130,000. He was complaining incessantly, and we felt that, you know what, screw it. If you want to leave, you leave. But he was actually the only other out this season, so you can see our transfer outlay is quite large. Certainly the biggest summer of spending, or year of spending for sure, but it definitely was necessary for us. Absolutely needed to happen, and I think next year our squad is going to be extremely good because of it. Now, last time you might remember me saying I just wanted a season where we were a little bit dominant and finally could not stress about the league while having to worry about Europe at the same time. Well, I present to you us getting exactly what we wanted. we hit the ground running. We actually didn't hit the ground running as it goes. We drew our first game, but you can see just win after win after win, rolling it in the league, including a 9-0 victory against Athlone Town in the EA Sports Cup in there too. Just results after results. It took us until, I'm just going to be a bit more glossing over this time around because it is so ridiculously dominant. It took us until the 24th of June to lose our first game of the year. And of course, it was away against St. Pat's Athletic. But by then, we were absolutely gone. Now, the other thing I should stress, though, is that as good as we were this year, and we were very good, the other teams around us were fighting amongst each other. So not only did we do really well, second place had quite a low points tally, which makes us look even better. We needn't have been as good as we were this season as it goes, but it just kind of is a testament to how good we've been this year. You'll see just solid results constantly putting up. Emmett Doran has been an absolute star this season. More on him in a bit later when I talk to you about current squad. But you can see it was just relentless, winning everything in front of us. 7-0 victory there against Bangor GG in the Cup. Obviously, it's the Cup, despite only beating Crumlin 1-0 there with a Jordan McPherson goal, but whatever. So that's about that, said the better. EA Sports Cup final, smacked Cork City in the cup final of the League Cup to get a 4-0 victory. First piece of trophy wear for the season there as well. And then it just kind of rolled. You might notice there's not a lot of red showing up since that St. Pat's game. We kind of recovered fairly fast. And I mean that sincerely. We even had a replay in here, which we really couldn't have done with at the time. But you'll notice that a lot of these games, very close together. And that's ignoring all of the European games in there as well. So make of that what you will. But yeah, literally didn't lose a single. We only lost one match domestically this season. We won the cup final 3-0 in the end over Sligo Rovers with a Carlo Murray hat-trick of all people. So a strange choice to have him get his hat-trick, but he did get it nevertheless. Red card late on for them, kind of irrelevant, although it was what caused the penalty. But yeah, one defeat domestically this year. We were so close to an unbeaten season in season 8. To go from being narrowly winning the title to that in 1 year is astonishing. And the reason I'm not sort of focusing too much on the league is because I suspect that this is how it will be for a very long time. Now, maybe we won't win it by quite so much next year, but we'll see. Because this year we won the league by 33 points. 1 defeat, 30 wins and 5 draws on the cards. Dundalk came second with 62 points. So you can see what I mean. That even if we'd finished the title with like the same kind of points that we had in previous years, we'd still be about 15 points clear of them. Derry City at one point were our biggest challengers and they kind of fell away. So Dundalk, St. Pat's and Derry end up qualifying for Europe. Thankfully, Skamrock Rovers fell away at the last moment in order to not get that too. Longford Town had a pretty piss poor year. Conceded some quite large results. Drogheda actually beat them 7-0. As it goes, but they weren't anywhere near as bad as Finn Harps from a few years ago. But they and Waterford have both gone down, so it's 2 different teams relegated this year. So Galway United will be replacing them, along with Bowes, who won the second tier. You'll also see, though, that Emmett Doran netted 29 league goals this year. And he probably could have had a lot more, and I think one day he could go close to 40 domestically, because he's barely played that many league games this season. It's absurd. But again, more on him later. 10 man of the match awards. Bart got 17 clean sheets. Nearly half the league games we kept a clean sheet in. Regan Booty still knocking the assists in. 12 assists this season in the league. Top of the bunch as well. And the second best average rating of any player domestically as well, which is just outrageous for Regan Booty. What a hero. But yeah, that's the league. Plus 72 goal difference. It's been an absolutely dominant season from us domestically. As for the second tier, as you can see, Bowes won the title in the end by by 6 points over Cork City. They were battling it out for most of the year. Cork, though, still finished 15 points clear of everybody else and still managed to balls it up in the playoffs. One of these days they will get out of this division, but I think this was their big chance to do it and they failed to make it count, as Galway are back up and I think they're going to be whipping boys of the top flight next year. I really do. But all in all, a good, strong season domestically. Let's go and do it again next season. But I know that what you're really interested in now is European stuff, so let's get cracking with that. So, we got drawn into the Champions League against the New Saints, hammered them 6-0 away from home and then repeated the drama at home by beating them 7-0. They had 2 red cards. We got off to a reasonably good start in Europe with a 13-0 aggregate win. Needless to say, it kept going as we faced Glentoran of Northern Ireland in the next round, beat them 3-1 away from home with Carla Murray, Michael Sharif and Alan grabbing the goals. Romy McDade did get one back, but it wasn't enough, as we then only beat them, though, by a 0-0 at home with Jacob Carno getting the winner, putting us through to the next round and guaranteeing us, of course, some group stage football of some form this season, and that was key. Unfortunately, though, in the next round, we drew Shakhtar Sologorsk of Belarus, who just knocked out FC Nordirland from the Champions League. They were no mugs, and Georgi Ivanovic gave them the lead after 8 minutes before Jacob Carno was rudely sent off because he's an idiot, and then they grabbed another one late on to give us a 2-0 deficit going into the second leg against these guys at home. We needed a miracle, honestly, because a 2-0 deficit is not easy to turn around, because if you're capable of losing 2-0 to them, you're probably not doing that well. Except this happened. Treaty United 7, Shakhtar Sologorsk 1. One of the maddest, and that's not even the maddest thing about it, one of the maddest games I've seen in a long, long time. We took the lead after 16 minutes through Emmett Doran, would you believe? But then Dembo Darbo equalised for them. We were 3-1 down after 39 minutes on the tie. But then Doran decided to score a double hat-trick after that. The man scored 7 goals in a single match to put us through to the next round of the Champions League. In the end, it was, 7-3 on aggregate we went through. But the fact that he scored all 7 goals is something I've never seen before. Last year with Tromsø, we had Classy Netnek, Enrique Araujo, did manage to score 6 in a single game, I think once, against an Israeli side in Champions League qualifiers. But 7 is utterly mad considering he scored all of the goals for us in this tie to single-handedly drag us through. And that will kind of give you a clue as to the season he's had. Unfortunately, though, we drew Dinamo Zagreb in the next round and we lost 3-0 at home to them with Barisic and Strutalo scoring the goals. It was kind of dead from there. We did manage, though, to go over to Zagreb and get ourselves a draw with Mayani bailing us out a late one. So we knew we were going out at this point of the Champions League, which is a shame. Couldn't quite make the group stages back-to-back seasons, but Mayani did at least score and gave us a bit of coefficient points, which is nice. But with that, we went straight into the Europa League group and we got handed a group of death, sort of. We got Leicester, Braga, and Nordsjælland, who were actually knocked out by Shakhtar Sologorsk. But to have Leicester and Braga in our group was a bit much. But we did start well, coming from behind in Denmark with Emmet Doran scoring a brace and Hajime Noga grabbing a late one. Told you he'd scored against the same club twice. You'll see more of that in a minute. As we beat FC Nordsjælland 3-1 away from home, and we thought, you know what? If we grab third, we'll get Europa Conference League knockouts and we'll see how far we can go. Because then it got even better for us. As at home against Braga, we beat them by 4-1. Carlos Mura and Emmet Doran with braces each. Galeno did get one back for him. This was an extremely even game that I would say arguably they were probably the better side. So for us to win this by 4-1 is massively ridiculous, and it was so fortuitous for us, but we'll take it. We were then heavily brought back down to earth as Leicester trashed us 4-1 at home with Emmet Doran grabbing our only goal. Ironically, we weren't actually that bad in this game. A 4-1 was a bit harsh on us, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, it got much worse when we went to the King Power Stadium in the return leg as Leicester beat us 6-1. This time, Moses Mayani grabbing again a goal in the 78th minute, but it was just an absolute destruction. You can see Madison, Iheanacho, Patson Daka, Will Alves getting on the score sheet there. Leicester trounced this group. But we bought ourselves a lifeline with a 4-2 victory, this time at home against Nordsjælland. Jacob Carno with a goal, Emmet Doran, and of course Hajime Noga scoring his second goal against Nordsjælland this season. They did score a pair of goals in this game though, to put us 2-1 down, but we managed to come back, as I weirdly predicted on stream, to win 4-2. And then going into the final group game, we did lose to Braga, but it wasn't enough, as long as we didn't lose by 4-1, we would get through. Emmet Doran's brace kept us in this match massively against the run of play still, so we only managed to lose by 3-2, and that was enough to see us come second in our group. Incredibly, based on the head-to-head record between us and Braga, we managed to get through. We scored 15 times in our group, but also conceded 17 and finished with a -2 goal difference. Leicester scored 23 times in this group. Mad. But we did manage to grab ourselves second in our Europa League group, and once again, for the second time, qualify for the Europa League knockouts. That's twice now that we've managed to do that. Now, part of us was thinking maybe it would be better if we'd gone into the Europa Conference League knockouts, because maybe we'd have a slightly easier time of it and could go a bit deeper for coefficient reasons. But it is what it is. However, we did get drawn against CSKA Moscow of Russia in our first knockout round, which does give me hope that maybe we could get through. They came third in their Champions League group, with Lyon being the bottom club, so they're clearly no mugs, but it does feel like a tie that's potentially winnable, and maybe there's a second knockout round on the cards for us, potentially, should we pull off a miracle in February, whenever that happens. So all in all, very happy with our European performances this year. Now, as for the other Irish sides this year, it was a poor one for them, and not even entirely their fault. Shamrock Rovers went in against Čukarički and were beaten in both legs to go out in the second qualifying round, which is obviously where all our teams go in. Sadly, it didn't get a lot better, though, as St. Pat's Athletic were unfortunately met with Genk in the second qualifying round and were beaten 7-1. Thankfully, though, Dundalk did get a relatively winnable tie against Dilagori of Georgia and were able to go through 4-2, but still not spectacular. Unfortunately, though, in the next round, they were met by Molde of Norway and went through Loen out 6-2 on aggregate very easily. So real step backwards for our other sides. But I think it was just the luck of the draw. They got some terrible draws, unfortunately, and it was really just on our shoulders this season. Because here is how the coefficient stands. We've earned 3.2 points this year. It's certainly not been our best year. I think if we could get past CSKA in the next round, then that would give us a chance to at least match next year and still make a statement. However, you'll see, of course, that we're next season going to be losing a 6.8 year, which could potentially cost us multiple positions in the coefficient charts. And you know how it is when these things happen. But in spite of that, we are actually going to be making a slight step up in the sense that we're going to hopefully, we're going to go above, as things stand anyway, Denmark and Poland. So we will move up to 22nd in the coefficients as things stand. But we've got to be very careful, and next year needs to be a very good year for us to avoid losing a considerable amount of points, or we just need to have, hopefully, someone else step up and do a job for us. So just one of the other Irish sides to do something a little bit for us, but it's going to be very tough, and we're still going to be behind Norway, of course, and that should give you an idea of how tough it's going to be to truly build this nation. But we're finally starting to get to that point now where I can just start making some moves to make that happen. But we're going to have to get rid of that bad year first. Get rid of that good year first, and that's going to cost us dearly. And I suspect we will drop in the coefficients next season because we will be losing that, barring a miracle and maybe a late run in the Europa League, perhaps. I think it's unlikely, though. You never know. Maybe we can make some good January signings and make it happen. As for the national team itself, 40th in the world right now. Not really a lot going on as far as the national team is concerned. Best player, well, I say the best player, best average well, Nathan Collins still. Any youth players that have sort of broken through, not a lot really. You'll notice that there is a couple, I suppose. You'll notice that Sean Kennedy, not in it at all anymore. Emmett Doran, though, is in the national team. Still only has one call-up, though. One cap, rather. Also, Owen O'Reilly, a new name. I haven't seen him before. Incredibly, has somehow got 13 caps for Republic of Ireland, presumably because he's playing in a position that they really need. And he does look like a really solid option, actually. Playing for West Brom for quite a few years now, it would seem. So there you go. But yeah, Emmett Doran is our star man this season, and he's managed 65 goals in all competitions. 65. It's insane. 13 in the Champions League, 9 in the Europa League. He's actually the top scorer in both competitions at the moment, which is filthy. 1 in the All-Ireland Champions Cup, 29 in 21 in the league, 3 in 2 in the FAI Cup, 9 in 2 in the EA Sports Cup, astonishingly. I don't even know how that's possible, but it is. 1 in the President's Cup, totaling 65 goals and 9 assists. Therefore, 74 goal contributions from Emmett Doran this year. What an absolutely godlike player. For someone who doesn't like big matches, he sure does like big matches. Other key players for us this year, of course, Michael Sharif has actually had an okay year. 20 goals, despite only starting 19 matches and being often used as a substitute or off the bench. Still got 13 in the league, so good for him. Carla Murray is another of these players. Did all right last year, this year as well. 15 goals, 13 assists over 34 matches. Good player. For a guy that, again, can't finish. Booty still had another ridiculous year. 36 appearances, 5 goals and 20 assists as well for Regan Booty. The man just keeps going. He's nearly at 200 league appearances. Barry Cunningham, another sort of key man at the left back for us this year. 42 appearances and 7 goals. Joao Pereira, of course, 43 appearances. Only the 1 goal, and he has sadly refused to sign a new contract and will be joining Aberdeen in this window, which is a shame because we've liked his work over the years. Ancor Esteban on loan from Leicester. He'll be back again for another season next year. 45 appearances. Absolute rock at the back. Of course, in goal, Bart Verbruggen. 57 appearances for Treaty United this year. And also, to go with that, 24 clean sheets is not bad at all. He did have some clangers of matches, but he's still a cracking keeper. Only other player that's maybe worth highlighting, of course, is Jacob Carno, our right-sided man. 48 appearances for him as well, 50 in total, 12 goals and 20 assists overall, so another solid season for him. Domestically, again, actually a real step up domestically, to be fair. To go from like 3 goals and 2 assists to 4 goals and 11 assists this season, he's really starting to become very, very good and an enjoyable player. And he's going to have a run for his money when Dickie Franks joins us. So that sort of concludes the wrap-up for us right now. It might have been a little bit of a short one. I didn't want it to go on for too long. We're doing transfer window right now. In fact, I'll just show you the budgets while we're here. So the transfer budget we're currently working with, we've got the £4 million there, and obviously £35,000 a week of wage budget to go. So plenty of money to move around and make some deals for us over this period. We're still going to be looking for the same types of players that can strengthen us, but also players for the future in there too. But we at least have now a bit more clout to actually be able to start signing those. So do join me over there if you will. We're streaming it live right now over on Twitch. Link in the description and all that jazz. But yeah, hit me with them Actimels. So if you've enjoyed this, drop a like. That'd be lovely. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, I suppose. And yeah, I stream on Switch. We already know about that. We're talking about that now. I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Hold your gun. Capybara. Bye-bye.